Hey guys, it's Matt. This is a TPS video. A cartoon will be shown in about 90 seconds from now. It's not even that good. You don't need to see it at all. Quick note, guys, before getting started. This is a really strange weather day outside Philadelphia. And you know I have the tendency to lose my electricity up here more than most. So just, for example, if this video didn't load, I guess it loaded because you're hearing the words that are coming out of my mouth. But if it didn't load and then you didn't hear from me until, say, Monday, it would be wrong to think, oh, Matt took some time off around Christmas. He took a mental respite. No, that's not going to ever happen here. If I just go away, I want to let you know something weird happened, like I lost my electricity. Or I have completely cracked. That is a possibility. I'm outside climbing the trees up and down completely naked. That's a possibility. Or I've been hauled off to a FEMA camp or District 12 with Katniss Everdeen. If I just go away for 3 or 4 days, I ain't taking no mental respite. There's nobody serving no pina coladas here. It's because something happened. And just give me time to come back, or perhaps after I've been released. Matt, why have I been staring at the date on a newspaper of November 29th, 2021? Just let me tell you what happened today. As I was curling up newspaper, getting ready to light this fire when the temperature drops 40 degrees in like 10 minutes, like they say it's going to. And I could have, in the weird synchronicities, I was looking at this newspaper, making little balls to start, whatever, that didn't come out right, to start a fire. I could have made a video out of like every single story. It was bizarre, the synchronicities, and this is the ultimate one. We're going to use this to discuss the Ship of Fools today. But that's why I was showing you the date. That was the date of the newspaper. My mother saves old newspapers because I use them to light fires. Greg tells me in the South they use dryer lint, and he keeps pushing that on me. You using your dryer lint yet? No, I'm not using the dryer lint just yet, Greg. I am saving it up. He's also told me about save your bacon grease. I'm telling you, he's pushed these Southern remedies and hints and tricks from the Deep South on me constantly. I haven't adopted any of them yet. So this is going to be about the Ship of Fools. You want to talk about a synchronicity. I'm curling up the paper and I'm like, what is this? So I'm going to read the cartoon before I throw it in the fireplace. And here's, if you can't see it, you're not missing anything. The cartoon's not very good. It's just incredibly relevant to what we've been talking about, the Ship of Fools. There's Uncle Sam with the hat drawn as the Mandela-affected hat is drawn. The hat doesn't exist like that, and it never has existed in the past other than how it's used in media, like Apollo Creed coming out before Rocky IV and things like that. But there's no root for the hat the way it... Matt, stop. This isn't a Mandela Effect video. Stop it. I'm sorry. It says in the cartoon, there's Uncle Sam at customer pickup. Went to pick something up. A bot. This is a cartoon from the Philadelphia Inquirer. Bot. It says in the cartoon, the America you were hoping for by now appears to be stuck on a ship and won't be arriving in the foreseeable future. Customer pickup in the cartoon bot is speaking to Uncle Sam. The America you were hoping for by now appears to be stuck on a ship and won't be arriving in the foreseeable future. What do you think I did? That's the goddamn Ship of Fools. This was like some sort of synchronicity, and we're going to discuss exactly what is meant, or at least my interpretation of the Ship of Fools. I don't think I'll show any other images or pictures. For anybody new, 2 minutes or less on as the Ship of Fools has been discussed on this channel, what exactly I mean by it. And if your interpretation is a little different or you think I'm missing something, I'll look to your comments and emails. The Ship of Fools, the ship, Pacific Princess with Isaac, represents reality itself. Or at least you could say the Western world, Western society and culture. I don't know if there's a divergence from this in parts of Africa or South America or Paraguay or Uruguay. The Western culture, okay, this is where most of us listening to this live and all we know, which is tied into reality itself. It sails, meaning it goes down the river, and I believe reality is very fluid. So many things are hijacked. They impose culture on us, like the great Olympian Bruce Jenner and all that, these things that are now considered great that were taboo 20 years ago. I mean, I don't have to go through the list of how society and culture has completely been upended in the last 10 to 15 years. Nobody would have believed it if I talked to myself in the past and said, "You, son, Matt, You get Matt talking to Matt, you're not going to believe what's out your window in 2022. Nobody would believe it. But a minute or so ago, I said reality's fluid. I think both things are at work on the Ship of Fools. Reality, and we'll get into why it's sailing, the relevancy of it. It's us standing behind the ship or on the bank as the ship sails. So I believe reality itself, metaphysically, is fluid. Things like the double slit experiment or the creeps pulling buttons and levers, things about reality we don't understand, a black magic, whatever it may be, whatever methods and weird ways of influencing reality they have at their disposal, other than the things we understand. If they take Bruce and put Bruce on 20 magazine covers completely artificially to try to introduce a different lifestyle, well, that's all plotted and planned. That's all executed on the ground. I think it's a combination as the ship sails. It's a combination of the creeps, walking out their door to influence society. But there's also something metaphysical at work here, things that can't be explained, something potentially related to the Mandela effect. And both factors, or many more factors, work on the Ship of Fools. And those on the ship, as things completely get bizarro world and break down, and all common sense, at least as compared to what it was in the past, is left behind, and society and culture is completely upended, the people on the ship, as it sails, society and culture tied into reality itself, simply resets. And the people on the Ship of Fools, like taking a download, or even more metaphysical than that, like they reset to the new reality, believing it's completely normal. Now, the key to the Ship of Fools analogy is that is only the only reason the ship exists is because there are a few of us that have got off the ship, that are standing on the dock or on the bank or on the beach watching it sail away. If none of us had ever gotten off the ship, there would be no Ship of Fools. We would all be on a reality that's changing, morphing, in weird ways, metaphysically, hijacked by the creeps. We wouldn't know, nobody on the ship notices anything wrong because those on the ship reset. This is the whole point of the word new normal, if you ask me. They pushed that word so artificially, and of course it was related just to see the V. But I think you can relate that the new normal applies to everything from the creep's perspective. When Bruce, the great Olympian, Bruce Jenner was put on every magazine cover artificially. If anything were real, it would have made the back page of the Philadelphia Inquirer. Nobody would have ever talked about it again. But it was made the biggest and greatest story of all time. So in that one little slice or area of culture and society, they created a new normal. But what I'm saying in the whole concept and theory behind the Ship of Fools, it's not just the creeps running around and opening and closing doors and driving cars and putting on magazine covers and things you can understand what people would do running around trying to influence society and culture. There's things here we don't understand. And we're never going to know exactly what the creepy buttons and levers are, or the nature of the spell, or the black magic, or whatever. But there's a whole other something. Half of it is them running around. But I think a big part that I push, or at least when I put forth my philosophy, a lot of the truth community doesn't see the other side. The side where reality itself seems to morph. So in my opinion, there's two things going on. The side over here, where the creeps are just running around, putting certain people on certain magazine covers, pushing forth the agenda of Santa Claus Schwab, doing this and doing that, and controlling the news. And okay, telling the masses what exactly C the V is and positioning their answer to it. Okay, well, that's all the stuff we can understand. But there's a whole host of things we don't understand. Metaphysical changes to reality. Reality being itself fluid. I think the creeps understand the nature of this and know how to maybe not hijack it, but shape it in the direction that they want. They understand the fluid nature of reality, in my opinion, and they use that to their advantage. So we'll talk about these things some other time. Just know, in my opinion, related to the Ship of Fools conversation, there's two different things going on to shape reality. Okay, call the other side that's mystical, call it black magic, dark magic, reality buttons and levers, whatever it is. Okay, we'll never truly understand that. And it's not a cop-out to say, well, someday we will. We won't. And you don't want to get closer to that creepy side. You don't want to truly understand it. But the point, back to the new normal, is both these forces, or many more forces, create a new normal for anybody on the ship of fools. And it's, in my opinion, literally reality itself has changed. It's not like they've got my friend Tony to accept what Bruce on the Woman of the Year Glamour magazine, what he introduced, and Tony just accepts it, but still holding on to all that he was in the 70s and 80s and 90s. To me, new normal is beyond C, the V. It was introduced during that time, the new normal. Oh, that's just about, there's always going to be a fear of something floating in the air, and that's part of it. But I think from their perspective and how they're using it, it's pervasive across every aspect of society and culture. And I believe when society and culture changes, the ship sails, reality itself has changed, and the people on it, like my friend Tony, they mold or morph, metaphysically morph to it. Okay, whatever that means. We're never going to figure out exactly what that means. So to them, that's why you can't wake anybody up. That's why you can't say, doesn't this appear strange? It's almost like they don't have ties to the same past that we do, if that makes sense. When a Mandela effect occurs, and I'll get off this topic because it still triggers a few people, but if something happens, then it shows all of reality reflects. It's always been that way. So it's a retrocausality. A Mandela effect goes back through time, other than the strange residual exceptions. The residual exceptions are great on one side and horrible on the other. The Mandela effect would be a whole lot easier to understand, much, much easier, if these residuals didn't exist and reality was able to overwrite everything back through time. But if the residuals never existed, we would be less confident in our position about the Mandela effect. We would doubt our own memories. So right now, I'm happy these residuals exist because I may know something was different in the past from my perspective. But if everything lined up against what I know, I would eventually start to doubt. With something as ridiculous as Interview with a Vampire, and these, I know that, there's a trivial examples to a lot of people, but there's just, the residuals go away over time. But there were thousands, if you newspaper clippings, this and that, URLs, which all got it wrong. So the residuals they assist us in our confidence that these Mandela effects are real, and it's not just about getting caught up on Curious George's tale. You step back and say, well, what does this mean about reality itself? And it's completely tied in to the ship of fools. Okay, we don't understand the culture outside our window. It's so foreign to us. It's so bizarre how people behave. But to Tony, although it's even pushing his buttons, and he's objecting to a lot of it because he still holds on to a conservative belief set, but it is normal to him. The new normal is, and as the ship of fools sails and gets farther and farther away, we've gotten off at, where did the Pacific Princess get off with Julie and Captain Stubing and Isaac? The Puerto Vallarta? Every time that damn ship got off at Puerto Vallarta, I don't think everybody got back on if they wandered in to the wrong neighborhoods. You know what I mean? But anyway, it was, here we are at Puerto Vallarta. I would say, don't get off the ship. You know what you go one block in the wrong place, man. You ain't getting back on the ship. Sorry. So Puerto Vallarta, we got off a long time ago. So our reality, what is considered normal to us, is the cement has hardened on that. It's rock solid, and it's tied into the past that we remember. Who knows what the past of my friend Tony or your cousin is? Is it the same past? It might not be. From a reality bubble or retrocausality example, it might not be. Because how convincing can their new normal be if their past is so much different from what exists today? I'm just throwing that out. I don't know. I mean, if I had to put money on a roulette number, I would say their past is the same as ours. But I don't know. There's something, I've never really gone there and thought about that in detail, so we'll just let that go. I do, or I'm going to say I do know, but I am confident that when the new normal and these things change in society and culture, it's a reset. It's not like they got us to accept a certain lifestyle and they were so successful in their propaganda campaign. That's all like in the toy box of things we understand. I'm saying reality itself resets. And we're not, as it's resetting, things become the new normal, the standards of what a politician should do or how a war is fought. Look at what's going on now. To us, we're standing on the bank going, that's so ridiculous. That is not how a war is fought. But to my friend Tony, he's smarter than me. Intelligence has nothing to do with it. So it's completely normal. Guys from locally, towns running under bridges with small arms and pitchforks, and it's completely normal that his whole life we heard about this huge fleet of MiG-29s and Sukhoi 27s and Bear Foxtrot bombers, and none of it's being used, and it's all normal to him. That's why you can't wake these people up. And for those listening to the words coming out of my mouth, it's going to get worse. Okay, worse. But ultimately, the news at the end of the day is the greatest news of all time because we're separating from reality itself. It doesn't get any better from our perspective. But it's going to, from the perspective that you know what I'm talking about, it's going to get worse because that ship is getting farther and farther from Puerto Vallarta, where the hell we got off with the Montezuma's revenge and whatever. We're stuck here eating their horse shit, chimichangas and shit. But that thing sailed, and reality's going to change. And there's going to be Mandela effects, and new parts of society and culture will pop up that will just blow our mind. And people like my friend Tony, who's just going along with it, maybe at some point, there's still people on that ship that can jump off. There are still real souls and spirits on that ship that have the opportunity to jump off at some point and swim back. And we'll throw in whatever life rafts we can with the rope tied around the end of the freaking dock. But it's not, I hate to tell you, most of those people, as you know, are going along with every bit of it. And whatever they are spiritually, whether the same as you or not, or golems or whatever they are, they lost themselves, they lost their light. It doesn't matter. They are on the ship of fools, and they're going to be on it. And reality will, from our perspective, will get stranger and stranger and stranger. Matt, if it gets any stranger, I can't take it, man. No, you can take it. It's funny as shit. Laugh at it. And somebody commented recently, Matt, I'm back listening to you because you've been too nice or too joyful or whatever. And recently, then I made a video that was like real dark, and most of the truth community is still addicted to like the bad news and the dark. And Matt's making a video about there's going to be some nasty thing coming, and then the truth community is addicted to the negative headlines, and they want bad news. And I was the same way. It was exciting. But if you want to evolve as a human being, if you're craving the bad news and that old truth addiction, you got to get through that. Matt starts a video like the greatest news of all time, and you're like disappointed, you have work to do. But it's natural because we all kind of did that as truthers. We were addicted to the excitement of the negative news. Dabu 7 or whatever would put up, here's a new video of a train with 400,000 flatbed cars and tanks and all this stuff. Oh my gosh, they're really going to do District 12 with Katniss Everdeen and all these remember all the railroads we looked, 2013, 2012, 13, 14, all the railroad cars where there's like endless flatbedded Humvees and tanks and all this stuff. Why are they moving all this military equipment around the United States? Oh my God. Walmart, FEMA, all that bullshit we used to do. And we were like, we're addicted to the bad news and all. If it's time to get out of that. See, remember we talk about it's not just seeing through the bullshit. We have work to do here. And someone's like, Matt, you never talk. What does that mean exactly? We do need to talk more about that. But part of it is just noticing for yourself. And in this case, if you want bad news from truth videos, you have work to do in terms of becoming the spiritual being you need to do here. Okay? And you can't drop it overnight, but you have to recognize it. Who the hell's calling me? And then start working on it. I'll be back. That was Greg. The I'll be back thing, that is a Mandela effect for me. I clearly remember, it's not an anchor like Interview with a Vampire or The Location of Australia, but I mean, he said it so strange, I'll be back. And if you listen to it now, he just says it clearly, like, I'll be back. Like, it was never that clear, dude. It's just weird. It's not Dolly's braces, but I guess it's in the ballpark for some of us. All right, let me do a summary of The Ship of Fools. I've probably lost people. I don't know how well that came out. Let me do a really basic summary, 2 minutes or less. Okay, The Ship of Fools is a relative term. It wouldn't exist if we hadn't gotten off. Okay, so it only exists, the whole terminology of the Ship of Fools only exists because you're on the shore and your cousin and your brother and my friend Tony and everybody else, most 99 point whatever percent of the society is on the ship. We for whatever reason, whatever we're immune to, we got off at some point. For some of you last year, for some of you 10 years ago. Now, let's say before this happened, we were all on the ship. But it certainly isn't a ship because then there is no relativity to those that have stepped off. But even for us, let's say, remember when I said when I was a child of the Matrix, reality itself, in my opinion, morphs and changes like a Mandela effect. It's not just the creeps running around planting the society and culture they want. I believe they know this, and they know how to maybe they can't turn the Titanic exactly the way they want it, but maybe they can push it a little bit with reality buttons and levers. I think they know how reality works. There's a whole host of things in physics and whatever they've researched that they don't share with us, will never be shared in a university white paper, and maybe if anybody's throwing rubber duckies, sure, that carry forth an ancient knowledge or whatever they stole out of the Library of Alexandria before they burned it down and all that horse shit, maybe they still carry. So, but they're not all powerful. They know how reality works, and I believe they know how to massage it and shape it. But when it changes, it's a change to reality itself. So this is where we say to my friend Tony or your cousin gets the download. It's not a download like the My Favorite Martian antenna comes out and they're getting the signal. I mean, it's like that. It's a metaphysical change to all of reality, and because they are still rooted inside the reality, they change as well. And for the most part, what that means is they accept the craziness that we find so strange. They accept, and in many cases, and you know what, they embrace it. It's wonderful, new choices and the way and you have people like my friend Tony, again, that still holds on to conservative roots and still remembers what he was from a conservative upbringing. So if government gets out of control, he'll still bitch and complain about that. But overall, it still seems normal. The way years ago, we've all been fooled. I listened to Rush Limbaugh years ago. And I just thought he's on our side, and it's Republican versus Democrat, and we all were there. But we've jumped off the back, and most everybody is still there. And it's not really their fault that much, because it's not just the creeps swinging their pendulums or their what does hypnotist use, swinging the damn timepiece back and forth, and it's all of reality. They're trying. We're working against, and we would be asking them to work against reality itself changes. They're part of reality itself. That's pretty hard to not go along with it when you might disagree. And some of the truth community be like, Matt, this is all horseshit. And this is where I completely disagree with them, and I call them first-grade truthers. They think all this that can be done by people, and I won't harp on this, you've heard it a million times, by people running around, making plots and plans and doing stuff. Regular people in cars that eat Subway sandwiches, then they didn't agree with them, so they sit down on the pot. And no, all of what we've seen, it cannot be done by secret societies and people if you don't have at least if you don't understand how reality works, and something dark is not massaging reality buttons and levers. Just what we saw with C, the pause V, with put the whole world into a face covering. The whole Western world was put into a face covering in 4 to 6 weeks. Oh, sure. And every authority figure lined up saying the same thing. They all lined up saying the same thing. Not because they're in on it, because they're on the ship of fools. They believe in every bit of what they were saying. Reality itself was changing, And we were not. Okay, we had left the ship a long time ago. They're going to pull something else next week or next year or whenever it is. It'll be the same thing for us. Everybody will go along with it. We won't. Surprise, surprise. It's just a simple analogy, the ship of fools, to understand what is going on here. It's really not the fault of the people in the ship of fools. Because it's not just, they're not just fighting against the trick of the hypnotist. You know, look into my eyes or watch this thing go back and forth, like the Maxwell House commercial, the first commercial shown after the JFK and Walter Cronkite came on CBS News with a CBS News bulletin. CBS News bulletin in who? Yeah, sure. You know, the damn pendulum swinging back and forth. It's not just that. It's, in my opinion, they're fighting all of reality, like the Mandela effect is absolutely related to this concept. So, Matt, what? And then people do is it the blood type? What makes us different? You always jump ahead. If I'm thinking, you know, too far ahead, I've got to come back. And what makes us different? And people will jump to, oh, it must be that RH, whatever blood type. It's not. It's nothing that we can ever point to. Who cares what makes us different? But I will tell you one thing potentially we share that makes us different. I don't know exactly how to describe this any more than the way I'm going to say it, but it's great news. We are separating from the reality. Everything that lines up in terms of what real spiritual beings and real souls should be doing here, a lot of the people that we respect and listen to and people that seem to have a lot to say are all talking about a similar theme of separating from the reality. In a way, it's similar to what C.S. Lewis was presenting in the Great Divorce. Now, I'm gonna do some research, just a little quick addendum here on C.S. Lewis. I've only read the one thing, but I think far too many people were like in love with C.S. Lewis, and I'm a little skeptical. Okay, let's not go here, but when something is so pushed forth by the system itself, you know, I'm sorry, your default must be skepticism, not like how great people. Okay, I'll read the Screw Tape Letters and I'll continue to do my research, but I've got that skeptic hat down hard on C.S. Lewis, big time. Especially the day he died was the day Huxley died, and the JFK, all that stuff. You know, okay. We'll just, you know, don't get too upset at me, the lovers of C.S. Lewis, all the people that came to his rescue when I said a few things like that. But when you have the system putting forth somebody like that with such prominence, like Orwell or Huxley, you don't think the default should be you better be skeptical and be absolutely sure? And how did that person break through in terms of the societal acceptance, even Hollywood and Narnia and all that stuff? Oh, I'm big-time skeptic of C.S. Lewis. That does not mean that everything needs to be thrown out. That does not mean there's not tremendous truth. And we have pulled a lot of that truth out of the Great Divorce. But there could also be deception. I'm sorry, I'm just going to keep going here for a few minutes and then wrap this video up. But one of the things we tend to agree with what C.S. Lewis was saying in The Great Divorce was, he said, if you try to hold on to a little bit of what he called hell, and he assigned earth or this reality to hell, then there is no heaven for you. You got to leave it all behind. Remember those themes. The only thing you get to keep is what you give away. And that, although I generally agree with that, but there can be some deception there, no doubt about it. I generally agree with that. Our job is separating from this world, not trying to get closer to the new normal or coveting it. It's all what we've been talking about the last 20, 25 minutes. We're separating from it. That's why it seems so friggin' strange to us as it sails further and further down. But to say every bit of it has to be left behind, that absolutely doesn't resonate with what I believe I'm here to do for myself, or what the spiritual part of me that's not here wants me to do for myself or for it. I believe the beauty I was going to make a video about this. I'll just mention it now. We'll talk about it more in the future. One of the charges I have to myself, and you might consider it for yourself, is to find the beauty that presents itself every day to us, at least one time a day, no matter how bad your life is. You know, walk around the corner getting a cheesesteak, and there's a beautiful rose bush that just bloomed, or whatever it may be, something that small and that trivial. My charge to myself is to find it, not to leave it all behind like C.S. Lewis says. And absolutely, that does not resonate with me at all, leaving it all behind. Finding that the idea is to find the beauty, but to leave behind the reality that's not Nilk or whatever is trying to pose on us. So let's not get into a giant C.S. Lewis discussion. He seems to me takes it too far. Oh, if just one little hair of hell you try to put in your pocket, you cannot accept heaven. Well, he's assigning the entire earth realm as hell. Hey, C.S. Lewis, the earth realm is a combination of hell, I better wrap this up, of heaven and hell. It's a merger of sorts. So there could be great deception in what C.S. Lewis is presenting in The Great Divorce. You can't just bow down to him. We'll talk a bit more about that in the future. So look, last thing, Ship of Fools. We were on it, we're off. Everybody on it, reality itself is changing. And as it changes, the only way to put it is the people on it, our cousins, our friends, they take the download. Is there any technology involved, like a 5G or 6G, or is it just metaphysical reality itself? We don't know. We'll never know. The best way to describe it is they're on the frequency, they're on the radio station, they take the download. We can probably hear the radio station, it just doesn't work on us. And it's like we don't even understand the language being spoken by the radio station, as the new normal is not just about a V or C the V or an illness. To me, the Not Nilk's presentation of it's a new normal for everything, dude. It's going to get worse with it for us. Yeah, that's the greatest news of all time. Because without a doubt, one of the thing potentially we are here to do is see through the trick, number one, then separate from the reality, which we're doing, and make sure you do what you're supposed to do here for yourself. Thanks for listening.